Someone that isn't above anybody in the league right now, Everton. Oh
It's
my
amazing.
God.
Do you know? Weirdly, I am fascinated by Everton. Like I don't know if this is a sort of morbid curiosity, but what's going on at that club? It's unreal.
How can Everton Football Club, within a couple of weeks it's a 6-pointer against Wolves already? I mean, it's dire straits. They've barely scored a goal. They've not even scored a goal. They've got their best player, which is Dwight McNeil, which says everything you need to know about Everton Football Club, injured. They have signed a kid, Beto, from Udinese for 25 million quid. Striker, could be able to add goals to their front line, but that's a big gamble. We're yet to see that. The performance this weekend, absolutely abysmal from Sean Dyche's side. And the way even the way he was clapping the fans at the end of the game, I was looking at, I think, your time's up. Your time's really numbered.
You were so kind to him when
in all of their games, again, this might be being very kind, but in all of their games, they've created so many chances that they've just need to bury. They finally get, and this feels like an eternal thing, like every single season you're going with them, right, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin stays fit, something can happen. He gets back and he gets a facial injury. Yeah. It's like his luck is the worst luck ever, but they are actually creating chances, so you never know if they continue to do that and Beto goes in.
They've had a terrible week. They've lost their investment, 125 million quid pulled out on them.
Jeez.
The running of the club is atrocious. I think Sean Dyche is massively getting away with it. I don't understand Dyche. The loving with Dyche. Like, when you think about the reaction to losing against Wolves at Goodison, right? That's massive. Wolves are all over the place, right? In terms of the ownership, in terms of a new manager, they are one of the most beatable teams around at the moment. It's the perfect fixture to play at home. There are some fixtures that are a gift, and the timing of that gift is even more impeccable. And Everton needed a victory. They then the fixture list smiled upon them and granted them Wolverhampton Wanderers at home. Perfection. And they have been beaten. Sean Dyche gets away with it to a level that I don't quite understand why.
I think he's getting away with it.
People like Dyche. People rate Dyche. I don't
because
get
of
it.
the circumstances.
No, but
it's circumstantial.
No, but Frank Lampard never got away with it. Frank Lampard was often derided for his, and the results were terrible. But what I mean is, Frank Lampard kept Everton up, and it went terrible first day of the season for Lampard against Chelsea actually, and nobody looked back, and it was always going wrong, and they ultimately got sacked. But I think people's reaction to...
How long did he have? A year in total? Was it about a year?
He weren't there a year.
I think what also doesn't help, and again, you could argue this for other Everton managers, is the transfer record this summer. They brought in a 38-year-old Ashley Young, 18-year-old kid up front that hasn't played much first. Like,
do you know when it hit me? Do you know when it hit me with their transfers and the recruitment and just the ambition of the club? They desperately needed goals, right? They need goals. That Maupay is a joker.
Why would you sign him?
Do you know who I saw they were linked with? And this was the answer. Che Adams. Hello, Che. Do you want to come and be in a relegation fight? Because that's exactly who you are, and that's sadly who we are. Yeah. Do you want to come and be in a relegation?
Why do they always buy strikers that don't score?
What's happening, everyone, and welcome to the club. Now, before we get into this clip, I need to let you know that this video is sponsored by and brought to you by the wonderful people of Super 6. If you are new to Super 6, trust me, you have to get the app right now. It is truly brilliant, and it will not cost you a penny, and you could end up winning an awful lot of money. There is a mini league. Myself, Buvey, and Adam all compete, and you can play directly against us. All you have to do is predict 6 scores correctly, and if you do it, you end up winning a fortune. The code is CLUB23, and we will see you there. Hope you enjoy the video. But they've
I'm not saying Che Adams is the answer, but I can see why they'd approach him in terms of, he's a hard-working striker off the ball. He's got a bit of physicality about. He wouldn't be the worst. For the money they've got, I can see why they would sniff around someone like that. They can't buy any better. They can't afford any better.
But over the years, they've spent fortunes, Booth.
Yeah, and maybe that's to the detriment of Sean Dyche now. He has to go to a Che Adams as opposed to...
See, but you see what you just said there? See, that's interesting. And Booth, I think you're a great person to talk to about this, because I think you're one of those people that has been over the time I've known you, quite kind and sympathetic towards Sean Dyche. I think you rated him when you came in. I mean, I'm not holding you to these, but I said Everton would go down last year and they didn't. I said there's no way that he'll keep them up and they'll go down, and they didn't, and I was wrong. But you spoke about them very highly. You thought this is the right man. European football could beckon for them. Like, you saw this going well, and you know the way you just phrased something then. Again, it was very kind to Dyche. You kind of went, I said they spent loads of money. And you went, yeah, but that's now to the detriment of Dyche. He doesn't have to... Dyche needs to be held accountable. Like, Dyche's win percentage is less than Frank Lampard's. There's no way.
Of course.
There's no way that people were this nice about Everton and Everton manager when it was Lampard.
I think the problem comes when you're
Benitez, by
not
the way.
winning your games against Wolves at home. Those are the games that you put down that we need 3 points. If they lose next week, that's a problem. That's a problem. But I don't think the pressure will begin on Sean Dyche because he is a good manager. And I think at that level, at that part of the table, he's a good manager down there. And Everton fans are going to turn on the board and everyone else, not him.
I think Dyche needs to be held to account. I don't understand why he's insulated from criticism.
But there are things that are on his side. That he's got a Burnley side onto the borders of European football, and that usually happen at the back end of seasons. Burnley usually finish strong, and they can't go out and get a Gary O'Neill. I think Gary O'Neill is probably the one manager actually because of what he did with Bournemouth that is the kind of emergency. Sam Allardyce, you can't go and get him. I think you've got to stick with someone like Sean Dyche and back him because I think the weight of Everton Football Club will get them victories where they will surprise people.
This is again interesting. When you think about their players, right? I find it. I think it's such a championship squad. Like, the two, and this is Dyche. Here's a good example of why I'm saying Dyche gets away with it. He consistently picks Tarkowski, Keane. They don't play well together. They're not good players. They're championship players. Tarkowski and Keane are crap.
Yeah, they're rubbish.
And I say sorry to everybody I've offended. Tarkowski and Keane are useless, right? They're not good players. They're not good players.
A lot worse.
Pardon?
You've said a lot worse than.
Oh yeah, totally. But I try. Right, Tarkowski and Keane. He keeps picking them. They've lost Cody. I get that, and they lost Yerry Mina, but he keeps picking Cody. He keeps picking Keane and Tarkowski, and they are not good enough. I heard an interview with Tarkowski. Did you hear it? And I was just like, this is hurting my head really badly. He said something along the lines of, Villa got battered on the opening day of the season, right? And then battered Everton. Tarkowski kind of went, well, we got battered last week and we've seen what they did to us. So we can use that for inspiration. Wait, you can't be inspired that you got battered, you div. Like, you can't flag anything can happen in the Premier League. Do you see what they did to us? They turned us inside out.
Man City in a few weeks.
They turned us inside out and they got turned inside out a while ago. So we can use that as inspiration. I'm like, no. You got battered. Don't use that as inspiration for anything in terms of like scoring goals. Sunday League mentality.
I think you're bang on. I think the mentality at Goodison Park is one of we're probably going to get relegated this season. Unless
Do you think they will go?
I always back the weight of the football club. I know Newcastle have been relegated and West Ham and Villa have been relegated. I know all these big clubs have been relegated, but there's something about Everton.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
They're lucky that Sheffield United are in the league, Luton are in the league.
They're gone, mate.
Bournemouth are in the
That's
league.
the problem, though. Gary O'Neill looks like he's doing something at Wolves, and he's the one that we thought. Sorry, Wolves were the ones that we thought they go down.
Yeah.
With Luton and
Sheffield United played very well. Like, you've seen more in Sheffield United and Luton than you have in Everton. In fact, you've seen more in everyone than you've seen in Everton.
But you can
Everton have created a lot of chances in these games. They're just not putting them away. If this Beto's the next Michu...
Mate, they got a spine of Pickford, Onana, Decore, Calvert-Lewin. That's far better than anything around there.
You've cherry-picked massively there. And
I've cherry-picked someone that
Calvert-Lewin never fit, so what's the point in saying his name?
Danjuma missed a sitter, man.
Yeah, Danjuma missed a sitter.
Calvert-Lewin's never fit, so what's the point in saying his name?
If he becomes fit, all right, it's a big if. Fine. All right, Decore last season keeps him up with a goal at the end of the season. I think he's a really good Premier League midfielder.
I would say that if you look across their team, I think the midfield, you're onto something. I think the midfield is all right. But if you look generally on their team, they're a championship team. You look at their defence from one side to the other is championship. It's championship players, 4 championship players.
I think Ashley Young is probably the worst of them all. He's a fantastic proven professional. I think he would
we're not judging Ashley Young of a year ago, of a decade ago.
No, exactly. Yeah. But to sign him at that age is absolutely crazy.
No, I think that they are.
That signing told me we're expecting to be in a relegation battle.
And they've lost, and they're talking about Chile, and they've lost £125 million this week in terms of the people that were partnering with the new stadium and all that have pulled out.
It's a painful time to be an Everton fan.